Considered to be one of the most devastating human-caused environmental disasters, the Exxon Valdez oil spill spilled 10.8 million U.S. gallons of crude oil over the next few days. Following the catastrophic Exxon Valdez oil spill, the 1990 Oil Pollution Act was passed. The disaster caused more than 4 summers to clean up, more than $2.1 billion in cleanup efforts, 10,000 workers, 1,000 boats, and 100 airplanes and helicopters. Multiple factors have been identified as contributing to the incident, including the failure of the third mate to properly maneuver the vessel, the failure of the master to provide a proper navigation watch, the failure of Exxon Shipping Company to supervise the master and provide a rested and sufficient crew for the Exxon Valdez, the failure of the U.S. Coast Guard to provide an effective vessel traffic system, and the lack of effective pilot and escort services.
So for people who weren't alive, weren't reading the paper when the Exxon Valdez spill happened, what were those animals going through? What happens to a bird when it interacts with an oil slick?
Well, first of all, even though it's in the spring and summer, it's still cold up there. And if it's not killed by being smothered by gobs and gobs of oil, if it's a little bit of oil, it will succumb eventually to things like pneumonia-type diseases and things like that. So it suddenly causes birds that had good insulation not to have insulation and to start suffering the effects of cold conditions.
And the same holds true for another of the iconic wildlife species in Prince William Sound, the sea otters. They insulate themselves with that nice thick fur pelt, and they are affected in the same way by oil disrupting their ability to insulate themselves during a spill.
The Exxon oil spill affected organisms and their communities short-term, up to 2 years, and long-term, up to 15 years. They experience physiological and population changes. The immediate effects included the toxicity and smoothing doses of oil. The oil covered about 2,000 kilometers of intertidal habitat. Within days and weeks, the intertidal communities, which included fish, birds, and mammals, were killed with toxic compounds in the water and air. The initial effect was found in the death tolls: 250,000 seabirds, 2,800 sea otters, 300 harbor seals, 250 bald eagles, and billions of fish like salmon and herring. The coating of feathers and acute oil toxicity initially killed birds. The long-term damage was evident in shorebirds that experienced lingering oil in their habitat. When oil coating was extensive, many birds lost their ability to fly and ability to keep warm, which led them to become hypothermic and die. Sea otters are the only mammal without blubber. Their dense fur and air bubbles keep them afloat. With their fur being matted with oil and non-effective insulation from the cold, they also died. They experienced weakened lung membranes and damaged kidneys, which led them to starve since they weren't able to dive for their food. About 750 to 2,650 sea otters died within the first year after the spill from hypothermia and combined with starvation.